a valiant effort to be able to climb the highest peak in the world, and many people try every year, and many people succeed, but most will fail. What usually happens is for months and even sometimes years, people will train to be able to climb this mountain, and first they'll start with some smaller mountains. Maybe they'll go out to just a small summit outside of their hometown, but then they'll climb higher and higher mountains, and then finally they will attempt to climb Mount Everest. At least that's what the wise ones do. Still, no matter how much the preparation that you put in, sometimes things just happen. And as was the case with these 20 people, they passed away when an avalanche came. Probably none of you have trained to climb Mount Everest, and if you have, then come see me after, because I am officially impressed. But you know what it's like to walk up your own summits in your life. You know what it's like to strive for something bigger, and you plan and prepare daily for these things, only sometimes for it to be knocked down unexpectedly. Maybe it was that vacation that you saved up for, and just in time for your loved one to need some extra financial support for medical care. Maybe it's that career that you worked so hard for, and that promotion that you got just in time for the company to eliminate your position. Maybe it's your dream career, and no matter what the preparation, a company or a new boss comes in and rearranges things so that you can't get where you thought you once would. And sometimes our reaction tends to be what this reaction was of the brothers. Maybe you were upset that the thing that you held so dearly was all of a sudden taken away, and maybe your reaction to that was to get angry. And maybe your second reaction to that was to figure out how you can possibly bring that other person down, or the thing that was preventing it, how you could remove these obstacles and these barriers. As we get to our final dreamer today, we see the story of these young men who feared a dream. They saw their own status being taken away and threatened. You see, Joseph has this dream that he is with his brothers, and he's gathering these stalks of grain together, and the one stalk of grain stands upright as these 11 others bow down to his stalk. And then there's the second dream where in this one it's celestial bodies, and it's the sun and the moon, and then also these 12 stars. And all of the 11 stars and the sun and the moon bow down to his star. Now, we can draw some conclusions from these dreams, and in fact, these dreams seem pretty blatant. They're coming from Joseph, and so it makes sense that that each of the 12 things would represent he and his brothers, and the sun and the moon would represent his mother and his father. It seems like we don't really need an interpretation, but the interesting thing about this is that Joseph was a dream interpreter, and he didn't even interpret his own dream. Instead, his brothers and his father rebuked him and called him out for these dreams. It wasn't something that he made up. It was just something that he was telling them, and yet he got in trouble for it. And the more interesting thing is, during this time, people would have seen dreams as something of God. You see, they didn't have the kind of knowledge of things like subconscious and what you're looking at right before you go to bed is what you're going to dream about, and those kinds of things. They instead believed that every dream was a gift from God and a way of God speaking through them. And so it wasn't even that these brothers got mad at Joseph. These brothers were really mad at God and what God had planned for Joseph. And yet, their first reaction is to get mad at Joseph, to take it out on Joseph. And then what's odd about this is they didn't even get mad at Jacob. Jacob, who held his son, this son Joseph, in such a high regard, so much more highly than the others. They didn't get mad at him, and they didn't get mad at God. They got mad at Joseph. So mad, in fact, that they plotted to kill him. The thing is, we have both the heavenly Father and the earthly Father telling the brothers that Joseph is favored and designed for a very special purpose. He is the one set apart to lead the house of Israel. He is picked as the leader of all the brothers. And the brothers, of course, and And naturally so, they just don't like that. They want to be the one that's picked. They want to be the one that's elevated. They want to be the one that's chosen and favored. And they have this very natural, very human reaction to this. They want to kill him. Now, we're in church, and so people can be honest. How many of us have ever wanted to kill our brothers and sisters before? We know what it feels like. And no, we would probably, I hope, no one would ever actually act on it and throw our brothers or sisters down a cistern. But we know that feeling of getting so mad and even so jealous at our brothers and sisters that we really want to take it out on them. And we can relate to that envy that happens when someone is chosen above us, when someone is more successful than us, when someone just has a gift that is better than ours. We very quickly catch ourselves wishing that we were the ones in their place, or wishing that we were the ones that had their gifts or talents or success. Maybe even we want to kill them, and not in the traditional sense. I'm not saying that most of us have that reaction to kill someone who's better than us, but I think that oftentimes our reaction is to bring them down. We want their business to fail. We want their grades to suffer. We want them to hit that bad note in the choir so we'll stay the best. We want to tear them down so that no others think that they are worthy. It's a natural reaction to have a little bit of pride. But so often that pride is what gets in the way of a better world, both for us and in general. St. Augustine, or St. Augustine, as some people pronounce it, is a famous theologian, wrote many books and has many thoughts on God and how God works. And he once said that pride is the root of all sin. And think about it, it makes sense, because when we steal, what are we saying? We're saying that we deserve what they had more than they do. When we commit adultery, we're saying, once again, that what they have is better than what we have and that we are more deserving of that. When we lie, it's not usually just because we're trying to cover up. Or is it not because we're trying to cover up and we think that we should know more than what another person should know? When we disobey our father and mother, is it not because we think that we know better than our father or mother? And when we kill, is it not because we think that our lives are more worthy than another's? It was pride that got in the way of Joseph's brothers. Pride that told them that they should have better than their brother. And pride that led them to try and kill him. Pride that then decided that they deserved to make a profit off of their brother. Pride that led them to being some of the most evil brothers that we see in the Bible. They are evil, there's no doubt. What they did was evil. But even in that evil, God made a way. You see, what happens next is that Joseph was then sold to the Egyptians, and his brothers did it. They did it out of spite and evil and their own pride, but he was sold to the Egyptians, and the brothers thought that it would tear him down, but it backfired. You see, Joseph's gift, the way that Joseph had been set apart, was interpreting dreams. And just as he had a dream that showed that he would be a leader over the brothers, Pharaoh then had a dream that he asked Joseph to interpret for him. And when Joseph did, and did it well, Pharaoh then believed him and put him in charge over all of Egypt. Despite all of the brothers' best efforts, it was Joseph's set of talents that shone through even when he was against all odds. What is it in your life? Who is fighting against you, or what is fighting against you? What is tearing you down? What evil are you living in? What battles are you fighting against all odds? In that space, wherever it may be, God will use your talents. There's a story, probably many of you have heard of it, but the story of this young woman, 19 years old. Her name's Lauryn Hill. Not to be confused with the rapper-singer Lauryn Hill, but Lauryn Hill is a basketball player, was a basketball player, and dreamed her entire life of playing basketball, and I'm sure she did the training and everything that it took to get her there. just 39 days after she signed her contract and signed her commitment form to go to this college, this school, to play basketball, she found out that she had a brain tumor. Against all odds, the very first game that she would play in her college career would also be her last. She didn't let the evil get in her way. She knew that she had a talent to be used, and now many praise her for her strength and her courage. See, all of us fight odds, all of us fight evil, and all of us fight obstacles, but wherever we may be, God will use that evil. God will use that place to glorify Him. Amen.